Hi everyone, it's Akansha Dimri, the founder and editor-in-chief of Tech Funding News, and welcome to a brand new episode of Tech Talks with TFN at this beautiful and prestigious private members club where you will find a lot of tech entrepreneurs, which is homegrown. And today we have with us Bianca, who is the head of data science at Founders Factory. Welcome, Bianca. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you today.
Thank you so much for taking out time for Tech Funding News. Our listeners and readers and also viewers wanted to be and know a lot about Founders Factory, and we will start with you and your journey. So could you tell us more about you? How did you end up at Founders Factory? You have a very interesting career journey as far as I know.
Fantastic. Yes, let me tell you a bit more about myself. So I've always been in the tech world. I've studied electrical and electronic engineering, and that took me into a path of exploring different options after university. I got into the Internet of Things, so like more than a decade ago, that was all the rage, putting sensors everywhere and really automating our lives. I think this was an idea that was brewing even then. And as I was going more in that domain, I've realized that all of these sensors produce a lot of data, and what really captivated me a lot more was what to do with that data. What can we learn? How can we use those insights to better the human existence? And that's why I moved into data science and AI. I've been doing this for the last decade before the current hype. And I've worked for different companies, some very large like Microsoft. So I was in the applied machine learning team there. I was leading the London team, and like some other smaller ones where we build data science products. And I guess when it comes to my journey into Founders Factory, a lot of it was, I would say, down to luck. For me, this new role at Founders Factory just came on the market and I applied. And I guess the rest is history. I've been there ever since and had a great time working with our startups and helping them drive their businesses using the power of data and AI.
Got it. So you have seen a lot in data and science and AI. Can you tell us how have you seen the industry change over the past few decades?
Yeah, 100%. I think when I started in doing data science, that was actually not a name for part of the industry. Like the data scientist role wasn't yet defined. So we were really exploring the capacity of this technology in a commercial setting. Of course, research has been going on for decades, but in terms of commercial applicability, we were really in the beginning. So it was really like amazing for me to see this entire transition, and now it's very mainstream. Everybody knows about data science and data scientists. So I think the biggest change for me is awareness, like public awareness of AI and machine learning and how it exists everywhere. We're surrounded by it in our devices. Whenever we take public means of transport, there's probably some data and machine learning there. So it's really surrounding us and hopefully making our lives better.
That's true. And also, I want to understand more about your role at Founders Factory, that how are you helping the data and AI science startups over there, and also understand more about what Founder Factory does.
Yeah, 100%. So Founders Factory is, we're building early stage startups, and we also invest into early stage startups, and we do that through two mechanisms. One of them is our venture studio, where we build ventures from scratch, and the other side is our accelerator, where we're taking startups and really moving them forward, enabling them to go further, faster. And the way we do that is in collaboration with our corporate partners that provide capital and support for the startups we work with. So a couple of examples of those corporate partners are Aviva in the UK, we have Mediobanca and Fastweb in Italy, Vonovia in Germany. So it's really a great mix of company from all over the world. And most recently, we've announced Western Australia government and Rio Tinto as well for an accelerator program. So we're really expanding globally, and it's some really exciting times for Founders Factory.
Great. So you have been everywhere, and these are the partners, and they're also portfolio startups, right?
These are the corporates that are funding the relationship with these ventures, and then we find companies to invest in, as well as design concepts of companies to build in our studio.
Tell us more about this new accelerator program that you're talking about.
Yeah, so this is in the works at the moment. We're currently like setting it all up, but it's pretty recent and like super exciting. Hopefully, we're going to have the first company starting in it in September. So we're all kind of working towards that, and it's some exciting times at Founders Factory at the moment.
Great. And what are some of the most innovative startups in your portfolio which you think are doing great?
Oh, wow.
And some that people in AI or the founders should follow them?
Wow, that is a very tough question because we have a variety of different companies. But when you're looking at it more specifically, there's a couple of companies that are doing really well funding-wise, which I think is fantastic. And a couple of examples of that is Zapier. They are doing an AI-powered research engine where you can do complex due diligence for potential business partner, and they just raised their Series A.
8 million. We just interviewed them.
Yeah, amazing. And so they're one of the ones that are maybe further along, but they're doing really well. And if I look at companies that are now coming out of our studio, there's some really great examples like Ogma. So Ogma are harnessing the power in AI to widen access to speech and language therapy services for children in the UK. So they're doing some really innovative things with AI, but at the same time, they're really helping on the impact piece to widen access and remove some of the inequality that exists in access to speech and language therapy. They're currently raising their round, so there's some really exciting things coming up from them.
Okay, so I also want to understand that you have been doing so many matchmaking of partners and companies and also investment. So how do you perceive the current funding landscape of UK right now? How tough is it?
So I would say it's still quite tough, but it's a lot in a much better position compared to last year. So I think last year was a very tough year for our founders and really founders everywhere. But this year we're seeing a lot more funding rounds at different stages, and there's a lot more excitement as well in the market. Founders are getting a lot more interest. So I think things are picking up. And when it comes to AI, I think, we're still in the hype cycle. Everybody is extremely exciting, but people are really looking for those companies that have a very strong AI essence. So I think, I always say the time of the GPT wrappers is gone. Maybe they got some funding last year where the hype cycle was at its peak, but now people are really looking for those really strong businesses that are using AI in a really creative and innovative way to really change the world.
Yes, AI, search GPT got launched today. Did you read the news at all?
Yeah. I've seen the news, and that's like very exciting. Again, I think it's a play of changing the way we really think about like search and how, because I think a lot of part of both our work and our personal lives is focused around search. I mean, you probably Google everything that happens to you, both from if you're going to go to a restaurant or if you're have a medical condition that you're maybe a bit too worried about, you use search. So that is really pervasive in your lives. And I think it's very exciting that OpenAI is trying to look into that and maybe change it. So who knows how the future is going to look in a year's time.
Google got its first rival in a very long time, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess Yahoo tried a lot, Bing tried it, Safari tried it. Let's see what happens with Search GPT. But coming back to Founders Factory portfolio startups, which are basically AI driven, what strategies do you think are the most successful ones when it comes to attracting investments And what advice would you give to startups which are AI driven or have the unique AI angle to it and are looking for funding?
Yes, 100%. I think the most important piece of advice I give people is never forget the fundamentals. So ultimately, you are building a business. Make sure, you know, your vision, your commercial, your product strategy, they're all in place, and you're driving the right metrics. And when it comes to AI, use it for the right reason, not just for the sake of it. I think I spoke to many companies over the last year and a half, and a lot of them were asking me, I was like, oh, how can I sprinkle some AI into my business? I think investors would love it. I think my reply to them is, I'm not sure they would love it unless you're really using it to solve a real problem that exists and affects a lot of your target audience. So do use it for the right reason. Ultimately, it's a tool that it's meant to bring a lot in terms of like automation insights, and is meant to help us like discover part of the world that maybe wasn't hidden from us before. And there's a lot of applications in that. I think you can also go into the more deep tech approach where you're using AI in new creative ways, like using it to discover new proteins or new materials. All of these are very new creative ways of using machine learning to discover things that, as I said in the past, were probably hidden from us.
That's true. I mean, with AI, the aspect of responsible AI comes in automatically right now. And I think it would be great if you could shed some light on what perspectives AI developers should keep in mind to keep the ethical part. Basically think about that when coming up with these technologies and also sprinkling AI on the software they have. That's a beautiful word.
Yeah, 100%. I think responsible AI and the ethics of building AI systems is something that's been very close to my heart. I've been doing a lot of work in thinking of it for the last few years. And I think, to be honest, I think my response to that is very, very simple. Just stop and think about it. Even by doing that is such a simple step that can make a huge difference. And ask yourself the question, should I do this? Just because you can doesn't mean you should build something. Think about the repercussions, the stakeholder, the risk, potential malicious users and malicious actors. And I've always found that by even having this line of thought and this conversation, it helps people just by default build better systems because they have that mindset. What a lot of time, what happens in industry and in a lot of like startups, you go really, really fast, and you don't stop and think about it. You just like go, and of course momentum is king when it comes to startups. So there's a really good reason for it. But what happens is that the responsible AI piece and the safety comes as an afterthought, and you can really tell which companies that happens to. So I think it's very important to stop and think and have that kind of risk assessment of what you're going to do next.
That's true. That's very important. Someone has to think of that, especially with everyone having the hot AI keyword in their
100%,
company right now. I mean, I just feel that there are a lot of companies which are sending me press release on a daily basis and they just write AI. And when I ask them, how are you using AI? And they just use some buzzwords and they don't want to speak to me, but don't just reply on email. And I'm like, oh, I'm not covering your story, sorry.
No, I guess it makes sense, right? And it ultimately comes back to trust. So a lot of our work environments, as you said, they are built around this idea of like human trust and knowing where that information comes from or where those ideas and thoughts come from. And I think now we're getting a lot of the waters there are not very clear anymore, right? Like you don't really know who's produced this. Is there an author? Is this ChatGPT? Like who? Yeah. And I think this comes back to a lot of discussions about liability and bias, and is going to get, I think, amplified in the next few years.
Yes, there are a lot of pros and cons. And also, coming back to Founders Factory, so what are your goals for 2024 in terms of products, in terms of startups you're going to get in your portfolio, in terms of new partners, in terms of everything which you can share with us?
Yeah, so I think, again, at Founders Factory, we're really ambitious and we have very, very ambitious plans. But I think ultimately it comes back to what we're trying to achieve, and that is to power founders to go further faster. So we've been working very hard on that. And as I said, we're doing some like amazing companies in our portfolio. We would love to expand more, like globally, especially in our 4 main themes. I'm not sure I shared those with you, but those are around healthcare, climate, fintech, and deep tech. So those are areas we're very, very excited about, and we would love to build more startups in and get more partners that are going to enable us to really build the companies of the futures.
And this is like globally, you're looking
Yes.
for startups and partners in these 4 themes?
Yes.
Okay, great. And is there any news coming in which you would like to share with us?
Not at the moment. Nothing else I can share.
No worries. So I just want to understand that if a startup is looking to get into the portfolio of Founders Factory, how should they contact you? Should they call you? Should they contact you via LinkedIn or Twitter or just email? And that is the first question. And second is, what is your selection process? How do you think that, okay, this startup is worth it?
Yes, amazing. So I think one of the best way to do it is to go to our website and use the application form there. We have an application form that covers both some studio ideas and concept as well as our accelerator programs. So I think that is like the best way to get in front of our teams. In terms of investments, we do those mainly into our accelerator programs, and we have our investment teams that again covers different types of areas like the ones I've mentioned, and they will be looking for great founding teams and great products.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that you do not go through warm intros at all?
I mean, we do. So I think like you can always email like people from Founders Factory. I think a lot of people do like email, LinkedIn, like if you know someone, some people come to our events, so there's a great way to like meeting people. But a lot of the time, like we do encourage people to apply because we sometimes need more information to move them through the process. But of course, warm intros are always very welcome.
Okay. And how do you select the second part of the question? What do you think is in a startup that actually attracts you to make them part of your portfolio?
Yeah, so I think it's again a variety of things. It would depend on every single one of our programs, but the fundamentals are always very important. Having a great team and a great vision, a great product, and really solving a problem that's like everywhere and a really big pain point.
Could you give an example of any startup in the past which went through this and then it was a part of Founders Factory? Any case study or story?
Yes, I guess we have like loads. Like which one can I think about? I think one of the startups that we've been talking a lot about recently is like Scan.com, because I think now they're at like Series C, and they've gone through one of our programs, and what they are doing is that they're again enabling access to like MRIs for a lot of people that couldn't have been able to before, or who have taken a lot of time. So it's a healthcare product. It's solving a really big pain point. Is also making an impact. They have a great team and a great vision. So I think it is a great example of the type of amazing companies that we're looking for.
That's wonderful. So coming on to the diversity segment, which is always important to tech funding news.
Yes.
Tell us about your early stage role in data and science and AI, and how difficult was it for you to have a strong foothold in a space which was very male dominated?
Yeah, so I think, tech it's a very like interesting place to be for a female. Yeah, 100%. And I think we've made a lot of progress. There's still a lot of challenges that I would love to see addressed. But yeah, it's been a road with, like any road, with a lot of ups and downs. With
Name the challenge.
So I've had many, but I think the one that's maybe been on my mind recently is what I call default like capacity. So essentially what that means is that whenever there's a male in tech presenting themselves with a specific title, or they're saying they have a particular set of skills, they're kind of like automatically assume that they know what they're talking about. So, they have that default capacity that nobody questions. While as a woman in tech, I think you always get a bit questions or tested at the beginning of like a meeting.
Your general knowledge is tested.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get some questions for people to understand if you know what you're talking about. So I think at least like in recent years, that's been something that's been on top of my mind. I'm trying to think about it, how we can remove it in the industry and how we can help people navigate it, because I think for females in tech, that can be can have a really big impact on your confidence. So just making sure we're not letting this continue, I think would be something that I would love to think more and do something about as well.
Yeah, that's a gender bias which has to be broken. I think a lot of females are doing it. I know one of the founders, Bianca Furtuna. She is like super stylish, and she is a scientist.
Yeah,
amazing, you look at
right?
her and she's in Greece or Amalfi partying, and then another moment she's getting funding for her space tech startup and
Wow.
sending mobile devices to the space and competing with Elon Musk. So we need females like that in terms of founders who can break the bias and people not judging them. So when was your moment when you decided to pursue the VC paths? Do you have a defining moment? You remember that? Or it just came along?
No, I don't think there's a specific defining moment that I can think of. I think it's something I've always wanted to explore and be part of, because I think the startup world is so exciting and there's a lot of creativity and innovation that's going on into it. So, yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't one moment that I was like, wow, I need to kind of change everything now.
No worries. Any last bit of advice for the diverse crowd in AI-driven in the European tech space system who are looking for funding?
I would just say, like, trust your gut. Go and build the business that you believe in, and just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Thank you so much, Bianca, for being there with us and also sharing your wonderful advices. And thank you everyone for joining us. This was Bianca from Founders Factory, and I'm Akansha from Tech Funding News, and we are signing off here from this beautiful homegrown Privates Member Club, and we'll see you in our next series. Thank you.